Sonta, we march for Sonta. The glory of Sonta is why we march. Welcome, puny humans. I am the Sontaran curator, not the curator you're so used to, a Sontaran clone of it, for the glory of Sontar. And now we are going to have a whole month dedicated to us, the Sontaran race, the mightiest race in the universe, according to us alone. And with us is our good Earthling correspondent, the human Miss Snark. How are you doing, Miss?
Miss, yes, I am doing just fine. I'm feeling rather ladylike today. Uh, Always so fun to talk about our favorite sentient big toes.
Yes, of course. And let us not forget for one moment that this whole month is dedicated to one specific puny human, the only one to ever best me as a trained Sontaran warrior, Mr. Ben Rayner, whose birthday was a few days ago. You humans and your birthday celebrations sicken me, but I have to honor this puny human for besting me in combat, and hence this whole month is dedicated to him. And speaking of your weird human costumes, such as birthdays, we
Hmm.
have some birthdays of some people that you might consider relevant. And judging by Earthling timelines, we are going from the 26th of March to the 1st of April, which was, of course, the birthday of this puny human. And to start with, we have someone from the human month of March. An exact birth date is not listed because human technology is so feeble that it can't even accurately predict when a person was cloned. I mean, birthed in your disgusting human habits. But we have Helen Rayner, not to be confused with Ben Rayner. It's a completely different spelling, you humans and your weird letters. But yes, she was a script editor on a wide variety of episodes from the RTD area, the Russell T Davies, as you humans call him, including the Sant and she also, I apologize, she also wrote the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky, which of course is the episode that brought the glorious Sontaran race to the big screen on to the small screen on the show in the modern era of the Doctor Who show. And speaking of the debut of some of the classic Sontarans on the TV show, we have on the 26th of March the Honorable Mr. Barry Letts, who was a producer and de facto showrunner for the entirety of the John Pertwee era, the first
Mhm.
Doctor to ever go up against the Sontaran race, the mighty Sontaran race on the TV show, who has script edited no less than 128 episodes of
Ooh.
the show, including the Time Warrior, which of course was the debut of the Sontaran race on the TV show Doctor Who. On the 27th, Mr. Bernard Wilkie. Here is the picture of his disgusting human visage. He was a visual effects designer for several episodes during the classic series in the 60s and 70s, namely The Ice Warriors, The Mind Robber, The Colony in Space, Curse of Peladon, Frontier in Space, and Planet of the Spiders. The next human on our list on the 27th is a very interesting one. You might actually recognize Puny Snark.
Sure.
Julian Glover.
Oh, sure.
Yes, you do recognize him. He played the human fictional leader of Richard the Lionheart in the Crusade, and, and also the Count Scarleone in a City of Death. Also his
Ooh.
He then went on to star in other of your various human uh, weirdly projects, such as the Indiana Jones franchise, the Star Wars franchise, and even
Hmm.
Harry Potter. And of course, his son has continued on his legacy in both Doctor Who, Star Wars, and Harry Potter as well. The next puny human on our list on the 28th is Gareth David Lloyd, who, of course, played the character of young Joe Jones in the Doctor Who spin off show, Torchwood. You're loving the accent, I can gather.
It's fantastic.
On the 28th, Mr. Nick Frost.
Hmm.
What a, what a boring name for a person for playing Santa Claus in Last Christmas in the Capaldi era. Yes, you have a person named Frost playing a frosty character.
Oh
How
boy.
how uncreative of you humans. On the 28th, I'm sorry, on the 27th of March, I messed up the birthday dates, and that is the only mistake a Sontaran can make because Sontarans don't have birthdays.
Say it's
Adrian
understandable.
and Adrian Rollins, who played Dr. Ryder on the episode Planet of the Ood, and also Inspector Abeline in the Jago and Lightfoot series on the Big Finish thing, whatever you call it. On the
Sure.
29th of March, Mr. Barry Jackson, who of, who has played several roles in the classic era of Doctor Who, including in The Romans, The Galaxy 4, Mission to the Unknown, and he also played Drax in the Doctor's Gallifreyan friend from the days of the Academy in the Armageddon Factor.
Hmm.
In the 1st of April, we actually have two people besides the puny human known as Benjamin Rayner. We have John Scott Martin, who of course played many, many, many roles, small roles, I should say, in Doctor Who. From the 60s all the way to the 70s, he was primarily known as a Dalek operator, but he also operated as a Zarbi. He was a fungaloid, a mechanoid, a robot. Basically, if there was a minor background character, background henchman uh, running across the screen, most likely it was him. And
Yes,
on the
that
last,
henchman kind of face.
yeah, oh yes, some Tyrants can recognize that immediately. And lastly, also on the 1st of March, we have the human who started it all, Sidney Newman, who of course is the creator of Doctor Who and who created Doctor Who back in the 60s. And actually is the reason why we are even talking about this show still to this day. So while it pains me as a Sontaran to thank any human for anything, I would like to extend my gratitude to all the people on the list that I read out today, and especially for this man, because without him, we none of this would be possible.
I got a question for you.
Ask
Where do
away.
where do Sontarans stand on mustaches? Because we've seen a couple, I would say, are below par mustaches in these birthday things.
Normally speaking, facial hair is a physical deformity
Sure.
amongst Sontarans, but many of them do have it, including some of the ones we will be discussing today.
The
And I am
mosty
dropping
ones.
this accent because I can no longer keep up the Sontaran speech. Oh boy, that was a killer. But at least we got
Valiant,
through the birthday
valiant
section.
effort. Valiant effort.
Oh yeah, way over my capabilities. But who cares about that? Sontarans.
Mm,
Let's
sure.
talk about Sontarans. Of course, our good friend, our good buddy, the puny human known as Ben Rayner. I mean, I don't think it would be too big of a stretch to say that they were his favorite enemy. They were his favorite monster,
Hmm.
and yeah, he always used to bring up the Sontaran Strax whenever we had conversations about stuff. He always used to bring him up in other shows and other conversations, and well. I've been wanting to do a Sontaran centric episode for a while,
Uh,
especially since his passing. But since I didn't really have much of a topic for this month, and I know that it's his birthday, or would have been his birthday today. I figured, what the hell, this would be the perfect time to bring up this subject, and I even made the new intro specifically for this episode, so I went above and beyond to make this month's topic as special as I could. And
yeah.
what better way to start with than the one that started it all, Jingo Lynx, the original Sontaran from the episode The Time Warrior, which, of course, not only is the introduction of the Sontarans, it is also the introduction of Sarah Jane Smith, and
Mm-hmm.
also the first time Gallifrey has ever been mentioned by name in
Oh,
the
really?
show. Oh, yes. Yeah, that was the first time this, the name of the episode, the name of the planet was actually mentioned.
Hmm.
Now, since you love the Third Doctor era so much, I believe you've seen this one, right? Correct?
Oh yeah. Yes, we've seen this one. I think we actually talked about this episode on one of our previous times I've been on the show.
Yeah, we talked about it when we did the alien races breakdown. We had some Tarans on as one of them.
Yeah, could
Yeah,
be. Yeah, I remember enjoying this episode. Yeah, the fact that uh, the makeup, the costume, ambitious. I think it took him a little while to get it, but yeah, it does look like the bottom of someone's toe. It just looks like the mouth is amazing.
yeah, and he keeps uh, sticking his tongue out while he's got the helmet off
I think that's the
during
only thing
the.
he could do with as an actor. I don't think he could move much and stuff like that. That's the only way he could throw some kind of personality at all in there.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
a lot of the times, the aliens' speech patterns, the accents, come as a result of the actors being limited by the prosthetics that they're using,
Yep.
which causes up a lot of problems when you're bringing the same characters or alien races onto Big Finish, played by the same actors. Uh, uh, Sontaran is no are no exception, of course. But yeah, so long story short, a Sontaran pod crash lands in medieval England,
Hmm.
and the Sontaran needs components and circuitry, complicated components and sacred circuitry to fix it. So what does he do? Naturally, he starts stealing scientists from the future back to the Middle Ages to help fix his ship, and he brainwashes them to and forces them to fix his ship, while at the same time taking refuge in a castle belonging to this violent brute of a guy, Lord
Right.
Irongron. And while he's staying there, he's providing specialized weapons for him, futuristic weapons like a robot suit of armor, uh, guns and whatnot, to go ahead and fight the Earl of Essex. And the Doctor and Surgeon somehow get caught up in all this, and they help the Earl of Essex or Wessex, whichever one they can remember what it was. They help him beat Lord Irongron and then defeat the Sontaran. And you know what? This also is the introduction of the Provic vent at the back of the neck. That if you strike them on the
Right.
Provic vent, you knock them out. If you hit a projectile through that Provic vent, you kill him. And that's really what ends him in the end, where they shoot an arrow through the Provic vent, and he falls on the console uh, of his pod, which essentially blows it up and taking the castle with it.
One in a million shot.
Well, I mean, that's why you get a proper archer for this. And
That's true.
who played the archer in that episode, by the way?
I can't remember.
Jeremy Bullock. Name doesn't ring a bell.
No,
Fett.
I'm
He
sorry.
was he was the original Boba Fett.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We talked about that too. Yeah, of course. I think when we talked about it, it may have just been after he passed away or something like that too. It was weird timing. I remember that.
Yeah, well, sad that it happens only in these situations, but that's life, I suppose. Or in well, That's death.
Oh boy.
And obviously, Lynx had a lot of, several fight scenes with the Doctor. And of course, the third Doctor has always been known as the fighting Doctor, the martial artist Doctor.
Kung
And
Fu Doctor.
This Sontaran basically wipes the floor with him several times in
Mhm.
this episode. And a big part of it is, I mean, look at this picture. Look how tall he is. I mean, he practically dwarfs Sarah Jane. And John Pertwee is the second or the third tallest Doctor. And look, they're almost at the same height. So why the hell did they decide to make the Sontarans diminutive trolls in the modern series? I will never understand that decision.
Maybe they just
I
couldn't
mean,
measure up to this guy.
yeah, I mean, just seriously, look at this guy. This guy looks intimidating. The
Yeah.
modern
He has
Sontarans
no neck.
don't.
He has
Yeah,
no neck.
well, yeah, I mean, who needs a neck, right?
That's true.
Why have the privilege of turning your head slightly and maybe ruin it and maybe crank your neck and die when you can just turn your whole body around,
You were turning your
Batman
neck while you
style?
did it. Yeah, couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine. Be like you're in
Well,
traction the entire time you're alive.
I mean, part of that is and also because of the Bullock vent thing, you got to keep that part protected.
Got to
So you,
protect
you
your
can't
vent.
really
Got to
do
protect
this.
your vent.
Yeah, you must protect your vent, and that is why Sontarans always have to face their opponents directly in battle. They can never turn their backs on
Yeah.
an enemy, which I think is a cool character trait.
Yeah. Susceptible to the sneak attack, you would think.
Yeah, that's why they always have to prepare for the case when in case of a sneak attack. They always have to
That's
you
true.
know march straight in. But when you watch this episode, did you watch the new revamped version or the old one?
It was through BritBox, so whichever version they had, probably the new version.
I'd assume so,
Yeah.
because the new version they actually changed the beginning of it. You actually do see the Sontaran pod actually damaged and crashing down to Earth, as opposed to in the original one was just
It was
some
just there.
dots in what looks like the sky. And they actually updated the Sontaran weapon, and they actually added laser effects and whatnot. So try to make it look cooler, which I think really helps sell the episode.
Mm,
But should we move on to the next one?
sure.
Because Kevin Lindsay, who played Lynx in that episode, actually makes a comeback in the next season with the Sontaran Experiment,
Oof.
which is in Tom Baker's first season, which had a bit of an interesting uh, lineup there. They had a very interesting uh, approach to Tom Baker's first season, where rather than just have the Doctor travel in the TARDIS and land on a different planet or a different time setting in every episode, basically the whole season was kind of a seasonal arc in a way, where
Yeah.
episode two, or rather serial two, he lands on this space Nova beacon, and he go at the end of that serial, he goes down to Earth to fix the teleportation circle or whatever, and he doesn't get back to that station until the end of the season. He goes down to Earth and he fights a Sontaran. Then the Time Lord send him to Skaro. Then he gets back and fights Cybermen, and then he finally catches up to the TARDIS. But in the meantime, we had this little minor two-parter with Kevin Lindsay returning as a Sontaran, playing a Sontaran Steyr, Field Marshal Steyr. No, sorry, that's a different Sontaran. Well, Steyr, the Sontaran, who is basically there on Earth's surface conducting weird experiments on humans. Trying to test out their strengths, see kind of what makes them tick. So, are you
I
still with
gotta
me,
tell
man?
you, uh, like it's a lot like with other things that we've noticed. Sometimes different makeup isn't always better. I don't like the look of this Sontaran compared to the original. And I think Lynx's looks a lot better. I don't
Really?
like
You
the
did?
sunk. Yeah, I don't like the sunken eyes and stuff like that. There's something more off-putting to this one than the original to me.
How so?
I don't know, just the way maybe I think it just might be the eyes, maybe the way that the head just has different molding or something like that. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you, but I like the look of Lynx better than this.
I mean,
Yeah, there's just that just looks. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think yeah, just the way that looks, I think it's just so much better. I don't know. There's maybe more simple, maybe more like a big toe. The other one just looks a little weirder.
well, I think I agree with you. I prefer links,
Yeah,
but I'm not opposed to this. I still like this.
yeah,
This face kind of feels a bit more detailed. I mean, it's definitely a lot better than some other Sontaran examples we're going to talk about this
yeah,
episode. But I don't have too much of a problem with this. And
yeah. I don't know. For me, it's more like it's like when we would talk about the Cyberman and stuff like that. There's differences to it, and this is like this version here is like the Cyberman with the circles under the eyes or something for me. I don't know. There's just something about it that it's just a little off. Maybe it's the human looking eyes. I have no idea.
I think Lynx had human looking eyes too.
He- Yeah, he did, but this guy has like the brown stuff. I don't know. There's just something about it. There's something about it that's off putting to me.
Yeah. But did you also notice another interesting difference about this between this Sontaran and the previous one?
Bring up links again, quick.
Actually, come to think of it, I'm not sure you can see it on links too much. Actually, you do.
Is it fingers?
Yes, Steyer has 5 fingers, which is
Oh yeah.
rare among Sontarans, and is actually considered a defect among Sontarans. Did you know that?
What a weirdo.
Yeah, apparently, if you have 3 fingers, you're not fit for combat. That's why he was regulated to just doing scientific experiments on humans on Earth.
Yeah,
Intelligence gathering and whatnot, testing out their strength in case
the
of the
lowest of the
full
low.
blown attack. Yeah, but we do get a better look at the ship, or rather the pod. We get to see a little
Odd,
bit of the
yeah,
inside. Okay, now you see the 5 fingers thing.
yeah.
But the thing is, the how they kill him in the end is they basically tamper with his feeding apparatus with the Provic vent. And basically, what happens is he comes out of the ship, he falls to the ground, and then basically just his whole head gets deflated. Of course, you can
Ooh,
really tell that it was just the head. That they fill it up with air and just slowly put the air out of the mask. But that moment kind of looks weird. It's
looks like a dried up old mandarin orange.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ugh.
But overall, I like this episode a lot. I think it's one of those episodes that really emphasizes the how threatening one Sontaran can be, just like with the Time Warrior, with
Mm-hmm.
Lynx, and just like previous one, the Doctor goes toe to toe with Steyer several times, while and the Doctor kind of has the advantage here because Steyer was kind of already worn out and depleted. He needed to go back and recharge himself, and he still wiped the floor with the Doctor. And something else that's pretty interesting about this episode: did you know that that Tom Baker actually uh, broke his arm on this episode?
No,
Yep. He accidentally stepped on his scarf and slipped, and
of
it was
course.
and so if you rewatch I don't know if you've seen this episode, but if you watch it, you can really see that for the majority of the episode he's kind of holding his arm like this, and they were really trying to hide the fact that he had a
Cast
what do you call
sling.
it? Yeah,
The
sling.
sling. Yeah.
The hold his arm, and they were hiding it underneath the scarf. So for the majority of the episode, he was walking around like this with one arm. Not during the fighting scenes, obviously, but yeah. Fun
But
fact. This
he soldiered on.
yeah,
Uh,
because
a lesser man would take the workers' comp and stay home for a month, but not Tom
yep,
Baker. God
not
bless him.
Tom Baker. Fun fact though, the same shooting location was reused again. Can you guess which doctor?
The same shooting location as this episode.
Yes, the same shooting location in this episode.
I will
I'm just gonna run
say.
some pictures from where it is.
Let's which doctor? I will say the sixth doctor.
No,
Okay.
the 13th Doctor, Jodie
Oh.
Whittaker, was used in the episode "Village of the Angels" during the Flux.
Oh.
Now that was where they filmed that old timey village.
Right.
So yeah, the Sontarans won't be seen again for a couple more seasons. In the meantime, we had in Tom Baker's third season, which was the second season with Leela, right before the introduction of K9, we had the episode Horror of Fangrock, which did not feature Sontarans, but it featured the Rutans,
Oh.
or just one Rutan in particular. And of course, the Rutans are the Sontaran main enemy. They're the reason the Sontarans exist. Pretty much, they only bred and clone themselves to fight these things, these sentient talking jellyfish
Yeah.
that
Cabbages.
that can shapeshift by killing people. They kill people and absorb their likeness, and that's how they attack. So these are the
Body
things that give
snatchers.
yeah, pretty much. These are the things that really give the Sontarans so much trouble historically. And look at that. It's one jellyfish with a large, big eye
Big gross eye.
in the center. Now, of course, this picture is a artistic representation of them. This is what they look like in the original episode. However, they recently re-released the Blu-rays for that season, and they remade the effects of the Rutan in the Horror of Fangrock, and you can actually see it a little bit better. And I haven't had the chance to watch it yet because I'm still working my way through my rewatch. I'm still about a season behind this episode, but I can't wait to see what they did with this creature. Of course, this came at the beginning of that season. The season finale was where we got the Sontarans back in full force with the invasion of time.
Hmm.
Do you remember this episode?
I don't remember it, but I'm sure I've seen it.
I'm pretty sure you have for that other episode we did last year, or the year before that we talked about these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just refresh your memory. So the Doctor gets a message from creatures called Vardans. You gotta remember the
Oh,
Vardans.
sure,
You
sure.
know,
Okay, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
tinfoil people.
Yes.
The tinfoil people that that make a deal with the Doctor, convince him to go back to Gallifrey and actually become the president for
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, so he can let them in. And they basically these telepathic tinfoil people basically take over Gallifrey with the
Right.
Doctor's help. And they actually kind of make the Time Lords look really, really weak. And the Time Lords, with the help of the Doctor, manages to get rid of the Vardans and remove them from Gallifrey, or so he thinks, because then it's revealed that the Vardans were just pawns being used by the Sontarans. And it's actually the Sontarans who invaded Gallifrey proper and essentially took over the facilities of the planet, and they basically made the Time Lords their puppets. So yeah, look at that. The Sontarans actually took over Gallifrey before the Daleks did. And you know what? What's the weirdest thing about this episode for me
What's that?
is that the Vardens kind of seemed really powerful. Like the Time Lords can't read their minds, and they have this ability to read the Time Lords' minds. And again, these are the Time Lords, and these tinfoil people in their tinfoil form uh, can actually hack Time Lord minds, and they can shield their true identity from Time Lords. How the hell did the Sontarans actually overpower them? So the implications there, if the Vardens can essentially defeat the Time Lords, and they were this whole time they were controlled by the Sontarans, can the Sontarans actually take on the Time Lords and win?
Who knows? Maybe the tinfoil dudes are just afraid of being beaten up. They know that these guys can beat them up, so they'll work for them. Maybe the Time Lords can outsmart the other guys. Maybe the Time Lords are just arrogant, and that's how they've let the other guys read their minds.
No, of course. The Time Lords and arrogance really go hand in hand
Yeah.
a lot of the time. But I love this clever plan by the Doctor to just have his whole his presidential suite, as it were, be completely covered by these lead gears and cogs, so that
Yep.
the Vardens wouldn't be able to read his mind while he's standing inside this room. I like that. And speaking of this picture, I mean, this episode pretty much introduces, in my opinion, I consider the worst Time Lord Castellan of all, Castellan Jericho.
Hmm.
So it was so bad they didn't even give him a name. They just stuck the actor's name onto him for no reason. But yeah, he's easily one of my least favorite Time Lords of all time because of how, for lack of a better word, how kiss ass he is in this episode. Like he really just sucks up to the Doctor when he's president. Then when it's revealed that he was only operating on orders from the Vardens, he starts to kiss up to the Vardens. When it turns out that the Sontarans were in charge of the whole thing, he kisses up to the Sontarans, and then when the Sontarans are defeated, he goes back and tries and weasels his way to try and kiss up to the Doctor again and the other Time Lords. But by this point, they see through him and just remove him from office and point to New Castellan, which I think was Andred, which eventually became Leela's husband.
Yes.
Yeah, which I like. Of course, this is the episode where Leela leaves. And another thing I loved about this episode is it introduces the Shobogans, or the people
Hmm.
living outside the Citadel on the wastelands of Gallifrey. We actually get to see Gallifrey from the outside, which is something that even the modern series doesn't show enough. I mean, we only got like a couple episodes taking place on Gallifrey outside the Citadel. We don't really get to see much of it. This
Yep.
episode actually pretty much there's a couple of episodes taking place on the outlands of Gallifrey with the Shobogans. We see Leela being accepted by the Shobogans, and she's training the Shobogans to fight against the Sontarans and the Vardens in the Citadel. And the sexual act plays a really big part in Leela's character on the Big Finish Gallifrey series later on. But yeah, it's a really massive episode, and I'll say it right here, even though our good Canadian friend Raiko disagrees. This is my favorite Sontaran episode, which is weird to say because the Sontarans don't show up until like the later half of the episode, but I still
Right.
love it. I think it's a masterclass in Doctor Who episodes, and of course they spend like an entire episode inside the Doctor's TARDIS, wandering around aimlessly, and it was clearly shot as the same location, except they shot it a bunch of times from different
Yep.
angles to make it
Different
look like
angle.
these are just different corridors and different areas. But no, it's clear, it's very clearly the same place, and we get to see so much more areas of the TARDIS. We get to see the swimming pool, we see a botanical garden, we see a sick bay of sorts, we see an art gallery. There's a lot of interesting rooms. Now, this is where I pose a question to you, Snark. So of
Sure.
course, the doctor's being appointed is Gallifrey, president of Gallifrey, right? He's wearing the sash of Rassilon, he's holding the staff of Rassilon, and he's devoting his life and service to seeking out the key of Rassilon, which of course is how he ends up, he finds it, and he ends up defeating the Sontarans by the end. And of course, this is what every Time Lord president's mission is, to seek out the key of Rassilon, where Rassilon hid his key to to his foundry, where he
Yep.
developed all these different weapons. Now, do you remember where that key ended up being?
Uh, geez. I think I'm getting mixed up with the five doctors when they with the crypt or whatever of Rassilon. But yeah, no, I can't remember. Where was it?
It was behind one of the paintings in the art gallery inside
Oh,
the TARDIS.
oh, right. Yes, you've told me about this, and this is why you had some theories about
Yeah,
the
because
doctor.
again, I'll repeat it for the people who need to hear this thing again. The key of Rassilon was inside the Doctor's TARDIS the whole time. Okay? Timeless child much? For people saying it came out of nowhere, I mean, I'll keep saying this. The hints have been there for a while. People just were too stubborn to see it.
I didn't want to see it. 50.
You didn't see because you didn't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just quoted the Prince of Egypt on that one.
Oh,
But
boy.
either way, like I said, I love this episode. It's one of my favorites of the classic series, one of my favorites of all time, and easily my favorite Sontaran episode, Sontarha. It's a shame I couldn't find any pictures of the Sontarans without the helmets, because let me tell you, I mean, you said you prefer this
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah.
They look terrible in this episode. They
I can't
really,
remember.
for some reason, I don't know what it is. It's just the Sontarans, while they are great characters in story, practical wise and effects wise, they just look progressively worse with each appearance.
It's got to be expensive because they're not using CGI and stuff like that. It's practical effects and stuff like that. It's got to be a lot of work that goes into doing these things. So yeah, I
Naturally,
don't get it. And they're all supposed to look pretty almost exactly alike, aren't they?
yeah,
There isn't supposed to be too much difference between them.
that's the thing. They're supposed to be identical,
Yeah.
right? Because they're clones.
Yep.
And yet they all look different every time they bring him on. And even in Sontaran Experiment, Sarah Jane mentions that Steyer looks exactly like Lynx, which she very clearly does not.
Nope.
So
They
yeah,
don't
I
even look
found
related.
yeah. You could not even. I mean, they're literally being played by the same actor. You could not even tell that one
That's
bit.
true.
I mean, come on, Sarah Jane, open your eyes. The other guy had 3 fingers, and
Come
this
on,
guy
Sarah.
had 5.
She's supposed to be a reporter. Gosh
Yeah,
darn it.
supposed to be a journalist. So yeah,
Yeah.
I found an image of a Sontaran from that episode.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Just look at this.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like I
He
said,
looks
this one.
concerned. He looks concerned. That's the one concerned looking centaur.
Yeah,
He's
very
like, oh boy.
expressive,
Those
but
human
still.
eyes. Yeah, untrustworthy. And the nose. I don't get the nose either.
Yeah. So, like I said, Sontarans continue to look worse with each appearance, with each further appearance, but now we get into their final appearance in the classic series in the episode The Two Doctors.
Mm,
You remember the two doctors? You probably haven't seen it yet, right?
I
But I
don't
mean,
remember it at all.
yeah, but I mean, it's the two doctors. So Colin Baker is the sixth doctor, and suddenly the second doctor, Patrick Troughton, shows back up again. Jamie shows back up again in an older version. They're being sent by the Time Lords on a mission to fight this weird woman called Chesini, and she's got her henchman Shockeye likes to eat things a lot, and he even tries to eat Jamie a couple of
Oh,
times in the episode. At one point, there's this horrifying scene where he captures Perry and essentially tortures her, preparing her to eat her. To
jeez.
you gotta tenderize your meat
I
before
was
you
gonna
eat
say,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, at some point
season.
they what?
Gonna season her
Yeah, he
with
basically
salt and
seasons her.
pepper.
Yeah,
Oh
and
God.
at some point they actually managed to turn the doctor, the second doctor, into one of their species, and he also gets this weird lust for food. And him and Shokai go out on a fancy restaurant and start eating everything they find. And yeah, so the doctor basically, the sixth doctor, strangles Shokai to death, which only furthers the controversy behind this doctor.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, Sontarans were in the episode. I forgot. Yeah, there was some Sontarans in this, and they were actually working with Cassini and Shokai. Yeah, very easy to forget. And I think they say one picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
I think this picture pretty much says it all. You get this episode where you get the sixth Doctor meeting the second Doctor, and oh yeah, there's a Sontaran in the background.
Yeah. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, the Sontarans are kind of there.
He's not looking good. I can tell you that.
The second Doctor
No,
or
the
the Sontaran?
Sontaran. The Sontaran looks like something's going on with that guy.
Yeah. Does this look any better?
Yeah, that looks better. Actually, I don't mind the look of that at all. Of
Yeah, I
the
don't know.
since the first one, I think that's the best looking Sontaran.
Really,
Yeah.
I suppose. I suppose they look a lot worse when
Wait,
they're moving.
I'm talking about the one on the left, not the one on the right.
The one on the right, not even a Sontaran. What are you talking about? This is just a guy with weird glasses.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, and you asked earlier about mustaches. This is one of the episodes where the Sontarans actually do have facial hair.
yeah.
Couldn't find a good close-up picture to show you. Maybe if I'll look it up again, I'll find it. But basically, they have a tiny beard, not like the master, but it's got a little tiny beard under under their lip. Can't seem to find a good picture of it. Uh, but well, whatever.
Whatever.
So you haven't seen this episode. I have a very long time ago, so it's not too fresh in my memory, but for all intents and purposes, it was kind of a Sontaran story. And there's actually an interesting story about this because they filmed the episode in Spain, I believe, at the
Nice.
height of summer,
Ooh.
and you had
Oh,
the poor souls in the Sontaran costumes sweating their bodies off.
nice
Uh,
save. Nice
and
save.
they actually had to run and do action scenes in the Sontaran costumes at the heat of summer. It was a nightmare for these guys.
Brutal.
So, and Colin Baker always repeats it in interviews is that he has the highest amount of respect for those people who were dying in those suits. But yeah, I did
Unbelievable.
find a picture of the second Doctor and Shockeye going out to a fancy restaurant together. So
Some nice.
that's kind of funny, I
Some
think.
nice eyebrows.
Yeah, really good eyebrows with this species. But yeah, I couldn't find a picture of the way the Sontarans looked like, which I didn't expect to find any, but it still would have been nice. I still had to look for them. So, any thoughts on this episode?
No, I am interested in seeing it though. I'd like to see the second Doctor kind of buddy around with some uh maniacally hungry. I guess I can't say cannibal, but human eater. I guess it'd be fun.
Yeah,
See the Doctor with a taste for human flesh. That'd be fun.
and you want to see the Sixth Doctor killing a guy, right?
Of course, with his bare hands.
Yeah, but basically just
Unbelievable.
yeah. He just pulls out a napkin and just puts it over his head and his face and keeps him there until he runs out of breath.
Boy, oh boy,
Yeah, the
psychopath.
Sixth Doctor was brutal on
Hmm.
TV. So yeah, this was. By the way, this was the one season where they experimented with having episodes at 45-minute length.
Oh, okay, right.
So yeah, instead of having four parters, I think all the episodes were two parters minus this episode, and if I can remember correctly, another one. Both this episode was three parts, and I think another episode was also a three-parter. But yeah, this is just been a nice breakdown of all the Sontaran episodes from all the previous all the classic series episodes. Of course, the Sontarans will not be seen again until series four, the third season to feature David Tennant as the Doctor. That is a story for another time, and of course, that was when they changed it from being these tall, intimidating beasts to
Mm.
diminutive muscle midgets. I guess is one
Sometimes
way.
sidekicks.
Sometimes what?
Sidekicks.
Yeah, sidekicks basically. I mean, when I was in London a couple of years ago, I was at this Doctor Who exhibition where you had classic Centaurs. You had Lynx. I think they might have had Styre or Invasion of Time Sontaran standing side by side, and then right next to them you see the modern Sontarans, and just like the the difference between the two tall, intimidating Sontarans and the tiny one from the modern series is like, how did you get from this to this? What the hell?
That's what
But
happens when you keep cloning. When you keep cloning, it just degrades.
yeah, when you keep cloning from the same sample,
Hmm.
uh, just gets weirder and weirder. And every once in a while, you get these genetic defects like five fingers. Perish the
Weirdo.
thought.
What a weirdo.
Uh, but yeah, so this has been our us talking about Sontarans. Pretty sure
Mhm.
we'll have more to talk about Sontarans in the next episode with the other person who misses Ben more than anything else, Soda. But well, let's uh let's wrap this up. Where can the good people where can the puny humans of Earth, back to character now? Where can the puny humans of Earth find you, uh, Snark?
You can find me and other puny human mortals over on Let's Get Ready Network. Uh, we have the starting 11 over on our highlights channel. That's the British Premier League football show. That's every Tuesday. Thursdays are new episodes of the Rewatchers Council. That's our Buffy the Vampire Slayer full 144 episode rewatch of the show. That's happening on our regular entertainment network. We just filmed. Which one did we do? Oh, Reptile Boy. Reptile Boy. So Halloween coming up soon as well. But as you watch this, Reptile Boy was just released. One of my favorite episodes of this season. What else? Let's Get Ready Network After Snark Weekends. My show with Danny, talking about whatever. It's on YouTube. You can find it. I believe we're talking about Lucasfilm this coming weekend.
Hmm. That
That's
is
it.
and that is a name that even us Sontarans have heard all the way back on Sontar.
Sure.
And you can find the real curator talking about this show every week on the Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and the other show that he does with Soda on this channel as well, which is called Fun with Flags, where they talk about two of their random puny human countries, which disgusts me to no end. And there are also several other channels on this universe dedicated to the mighty Ben. Yes, I'm calling him mighty now. Some of those channels feature something to talk about: Galaxy Geeks, Multiverse of Geekdom, Movie Unite, the Midnight Cinema, 800 Views, and I'm also told that there is another channel called In the Front Row, which is not being talked about or shown in this infographic. And once again, this was all done in dedication of this puny human who defeated the mighty Sontaran, which was me late 2 years ago. So Sontarans give respect when it's due. And until we meet again for the next topic talking about Sontarans, one One of our allies, the Master, had this to say.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Goodbye, puny humans.